All right, well, hello everyone, and welcome to this month's webinar. We're going to talk about how to get more high quality clients through Google pay-per-click. And most of the examples we're going to talk about are for law firms, but this is pay-per-click and 90% of it is applicable to everyone else. Although for law firms, we're particularly interested in phone calls and immediate conversions to leads and clients. So let me just do this, okay. And my name is Jay Berkowitz, and a little bit more about me in a minute. But let me talk about what's really important with pay-per-click. And with all respect to my friend Sarah, who called it pay-per-click, what is pay-per-click? These are the paid ads at the very top of Google. So if I search personal injury lawyer near me in Google, and we see ad, there's 4 today in most instances. I do a search for personal injury near me. These are the little items with ad beside them. And we pay per click as advertisers. So if somebody clicks, they go to your website, you pay per click, and that's why it's called PPC or pay per click. Pretty straightforward. The next section you now see on a Google search or Google Maps, or what Google is now calling GBP, Google Business Profile. Google My Business, GMB, Google Maps is what we call it as a consumer. And Google still has 10 results, like if we could go scroll further down on the page here, 10 results of SEO, free or search engine optimization or organic. We call these things a bunch of things as this industry's evolved. But essentially today, we're talking about the top area here, the pay per click. And what's new, what's hot, what really matters? Well, game changer. In the last 8 to 10, 12 months, Google's been rolling out Google Screened or local service ads for attorneys, who we're talking about today. And the new program called Google Screened is also for real estate agents and also for financial consultants. So what we're seeing now is a check mark and Google Screened right at the top of the page, game changer, because the consumer is familiar with this now. For 3 or 4 years, there's been a program called Google Verified for in-home folks who come in your home, air conditioning, locksmiths, garage door repair, plumbers. And so the consumer knows that they don't know exactly what this means, as far as I could tell, but most of us, started to realize that Google is screening, verifying, they're in some way, shape, or form recognizing these firms as being legit. Now, on the verified program, they actually give a money-back guarantee. I think it's $2,000 if you got ripped off by your plumber or your air conditioning guy. So the fact that these folks are now screened or approved are grabbing off 30 to 40% of the clicks. And these are click to lead, or on a phone, it's click to call. And they're immediate leads. You pay per lead, you don't pay per click. So that's a game changer. And if you haven't gotten approved for Google Screen, I would, pause this webinar if you're watching on recording. Stick with us today, but sometime later today or tomorrow, go watch our webinar on the local service ads. And you can find our webinars on our YouTube channel for 10 Golden Rules. So if I click here on more personal injury lawyers, I'm going to see all the guys who are screened or approved in this area. And if you're not there, obviously you want to get in the game. The other thing, super hot, new, important to know about is Google's artificial intelligence, AI. And Google is serving up a whole bunch of technology now in the back end of Google Ads. We set up a smart campaign for just a friend of mine who wasn't a paying client, he's a local accountant in my networking group. And the smart campaign did really well. And then I helped his in-house guy set up a regular campaign where we crafted the keywords and crafted the ads. And, it was neck and neck as to whether the artificial intelligence campaign that just said, get me leads for accounting versus the campaign where we said, accountant near me, best accountant, CPA. And we put the actual keywords, the actual ads, the actual landing pages. So I would say that if you have a professional agency, we're still going to outduel the AI, but we are going to use some of the components of the artificial intelligence, such as smart bidding and some of the other responsive ad technologies. So the AI is catching up and will beat humans. That's another presentation as well. We've also added an AI chatbot on our site and 3 or 4 of our clients' sites. We have this in test. It's called Intaker. The founder of Intaker was on one of our webinars last year. So essentially the way it works, we've got a little video there to catch your attention. And then the artificial intelligence chatbot runs you through a series of questions. What can we help you with today? Oh, you're looking for search engine optimization. What industry are you in? Oh, you're in legal. Are you interested in a no obligation consultation? So the beauty of the artificial intelligence chatbot is you're not waiting for a human to chat back with you, but we'll talk a little bit more about chat in a minute. So that's what is pay-per-click. Those are some of the things that are super hot. Let's get into the meat of the presentation now, and a little bit more about me. We're going to talk about pay-per-click. We're going to talk about how to research and set up your campaign. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about math, because it's really all about, if you can do grade 9, grade 10 math, you can excel at pay-per-click, Google's paid advertising, but you really need that basic math. So that's really helpful, really important, really advantageous. We're going to have a couple case studies where we'll show you actual campaigns and results, and we'll talk about some of the advanced strategies, some of the advanced things you can and should be doing in your campaigns, or asking your agencies if they're doing that, to find out if they're taking advantage of the advanced stuff. And frankly, it is so expensive and so competitive today that if you're not doing the best stuff, if you're not using best practices in the advanced stuff, you're really falling behind. So just a little bit about me. My name is Jay Berkowitz. I've been doing this marketing stuff for over 25 years. I started out working for an ad agency, and as the years went along, I saw that the internet was becoming a very important part of advertising and marketing. And I went to work at Sprint, and I was doing advertising and marketing, getting our customers their first emails, getting our big business clients their first websites in the very early days of the internet. And then I went on to write the book, The 10 Golden Rules of Online Advertising. Really tried to write the 10 core strategic principles of internet marketing back in 2003, a long time ago. Google was still in beta. They didn't even have any ads. And my 5th book is coming out this year called Internet Marketing for Law Firms. Spoken at conferences all around the world. And our company, 10 Golden Rules, is a digital marketing agency based centrally in Boca Raton, but through the last 2 years, we've really become virtual. We have employees all around the country, and even several all around the world. We work with many law firms. We work with other clients through our other brand, Snap Agency, but the 10 Golden Rules team is focused on attorneys. We work with Stewart & Stewart in Indiana, and Law Tigers, big motorcycle injury lawyers all around the country. Some corporate firms like Conrad and Brian Garrett's another local PI in Oklahoma City. And my friend John Pankowski is a trust and estate litigator in Palm Beach. So the majority of our time we're talking about this stuff, pay-per-click, SEO, local service ads for attorneys, and talking to attorneys all day, every day. So the first question is, I get this all the time, does pay-per-click work? I'm spending $15,000 or $20,000. We've got these ads running. Does it work? And I like to go all the way back to my time with McDonald's restaurants. I both worked for their ad agency and worked as a director of marketing at McDonald's. And the frustrating thing was that I knew advertising worked, because if we had a new Happy Meal promotion on a weekend, we'd start the advertising Thursday night at 6 o'clock. The billboards would be going up Friday. The radio ads would start Friday morning. And if you had kids and it was like a Disney Happy Meal, they knew about it by end of day Friday, and they were asking you to go to McDonald's. And our stores would have record 10, 15, 20% sales increases on Saturday. So advertising really works. I saw it over and over and over again in multiple industries. Advertising works. But the frustrating part of the old days when I worked at McDonald's and Coca-Cola is that you didn't know which component parts of the advertising worked. Was it the TV? Was it the radio? Was it the billboard? One personal theory I developed is there was a multiplicity. So if you had, radio and billboards, that wasn't 1 + 1 = 2. That was 1 + 1 = 3. Like, I think there was something to, if you heard the Happy Meal ad on the radio and then drove by the billboards, like, oh, I get it. I heard, even subconsciously, but we were still guessing, like, did advertising really work? Like, we knew it worked, but we didn't know what worked. But the beauty of the internet is we know precisely that it works. John Wanamaker said it best. He said, I know half my advertising's wasted. I just don't know which half. So back in the early turn of the 1900s, he had department stores and he was doing advertising. Again, he knew it worked. He just didn't know what worked, and he knew half of it was not working. So the beauty of the internet is you can measure your return on investment to the penny, your ROI, your return on investment to the penny. So here's an example of a campaign. We spent $25,000 for a client, and this is the spend. And typically, we were obviously off on the weekends. So what a lot of internet data looks like this: spend, 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 and then no spend, and then spend, and then no spend. And so here's our spend, and some the lines are different campaigns. We got 1,649 clicks for that $25,000 spend. We got 291 leads. So a lead in the legal business and professional services, and even for a digital agency, is either a call, a chat. I got a chat lead yesterday, or a form fill. Someone fills out the form on your site, and they fill out the data, and they typically get that as an email. Now we can track, and you must track all those three things precisely. That's critical. So we got spent $25,000, got 291 leads. Our cost per conversion, that's Google lingo for lead. So each of those instances we measure precisely. We measure each call with call tracking. We measure chat by tracking it through Google Analytics, and we measure the forms through tracking it through Google Analytics and linking Google Analytics with the Google Ads product. So we know on this campaign, it was $87 for a lead. Now, if for a typical law firm, maybe 1 out of 5 are good leads, and 1 out of 10 actually signs as a client. So if we had 10 leads and 1 out of the 10 converted, that means that it cost $870 to sign a client. It should be fantastic for most attorneys in most practice areas, in most areas of the country. $800, $900 to sign a client is great. Average clients are worth, somewhere between $3,000 and $30,000, depending on the industry, depending on the category. As a matter of fact, this is so important that every single prospective employee for 10 Golden Rules has to pass this little math test. And we won't do it today, but if you're watching on the recording and you want to have a little fun, just pause it, take the math test. And your assignment is fill in all the blanks. So let's say these are leads for a law firm, and we spent $2,500 on Google. We got 150 leads. We spent $1,500 on Yahoo Bing. We got 65 leads. I want you to fill in the cost per lead and all the totals along the bottom. And be careful with your math, because everybody makes the same mistake, and they add up the cost per lead, but you have to calculate that on its own. But in this instance, we see that it costs $17 for Google leads. Remember, in the example before, for a personal injury attorney, it was $87. So this is probably a different industry. And our average or our total cost per lead was $15 for this campaign. And our best performer here was Facebook in this example. But, again, the reason we do this, as I said off the top, is if you can understand this basic grade 9, grade 10 math, you understand the most important factors you need for your pay-per-click campaign. The first thing, like if your agency is not measuring the cost per lead, and your conversations are not all around what's my cost per lead, and they're tracking, they should have calls set up to track, they should have chat. Like if you don't have chat, you're missing out on 20 or 30% of your leads. Some people are just not going to pick up the phone. They might be, their kids might be homeschooling, or they might be at work. They're just not going to pick up the phone, and they're not going to give you their email address because nobody wants spam. That's where chat falls in the middle, and you garner an extra 15 or 20% more leads because people will chat with you. They'll ask their questions, and it's an easy engagement where they don't have to give you their email, they don't have to pick up the phone. So you got to be measuring calls, chats, and forms. Here's another example of the detail we go through with our clients. Here we are tracking all the calls. So these guys got 177 calls this month. They got 44 clients retained via those calls. So we see here that the calls are converting at 24% on average. They got 56 of the chats, the little chat box popping up. That's converting a little lower, 7%, sometimes 19%, average of 9%. And then they got 58 web forms. The web forms are typically the worst. And in particular, if you're in like a single incident, like a personal injury or, any kind of law, like for the most part, people, if it's not like you're not a corporate lawyer and people want an answer now, they're going to pick up the phone and talk to someone. And if you only have a form on your website for them to fill out, they don't see your phone number, they don't see a chat, and they fill out your form and you call them back in a couple hours, they might have already signed with someone on a DocuSign. You might have missed that opportunity completely. So the key thing here is measuring your calls, your forms, your chats, and knowing your data, knowing your numbers, doing your grade 10 math every single month with your agency. So what are some of the other different kinds of pay per click? Okay, so this is the most significant. This is where Google makes most of their money. This is where you can drive the most paid traffic, generate the most number of paid clients. Now, paid, I said, not, the Google Maps and the Google SEO is free. Social media can be free, right? But the pay per click, which is a lever that we can turn up and down, and we know, like in the example I showed earlier, that if we turn the dial up, we're going to get more leads at a cost per lead of $87. If we turn the dial down, we're going to get fewer leads. But each lead is going to cost $87 regardless of how much we spend on that campaign. So these are the ads. We talked about this earlier, pay per click or PPC ads. But you also see ads that are often served by Google that are called display ads. And here's an example of a display ad on our local NBC station and a display ad for some kind of local service. And a lot of times Google is the partner who's selling and promoting these ads. So let's say the TV station, like they might have had these guys on TV doing advertising, but then if they're not in a sold out position, they'll fill in with Google ads, what Google calls their display network, and they have a network of sites that will serve these ads. These are particularly good for remarketing. Those ads that follow you around when you go to a website and you look at a pair of sneakers or you look at a flight, and then everywhere you go, it's like flights to Denver, save on flights to Denver, because they knew that you looked for a flight and Google's cookied not you personally, but your computer, your device, and they're showing those ads. Now, here's another type of advertising. It's pretty effective. Remember, there used to be an ad in the Google Maps. So there used to be what we called the 3-pack, 3 results in the maps and 1 ad at the top. Those ads are gone now. And I think what Google's just trying to rationalize how many ads they're showing. So now that they have the screened, they're not showing the ad in maps. But if you click on more businesses, and a lot of us do that, like a lot of times, if I'm looking for a local business, I want to see all of them. I want to see all the maps, and the more sophisticated search consumers are going to do that. Google's still running some ads there. So this is still a nice position. We get some good results from these PPC ads here. Obviously, Facebook pay-per-click is a totally different webinar, totally different concept. But it's more like, I was actually answering this question today for a client. It's more like brand advertising. Because when you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, you didn't do a search for, divorce attorney near me, best personal injury lawyer, Chicago. You're just looking for a laugh, or you're looking for Gary Vaynerchuk or something. And these ads appear and they try to catch your attention. But obviously for lawyers, it's a little bit harder to do that. It's more precise if somebody searches for your products and services. Couple other heads up. Amazon is now the #3 pay-per-click in the world, maybe #2. We've always said that #2 is actually YouTube, and YouTube's a Google property. We always search for things like how to do things, and we search for videos, and YouTube is an incredibly massive search engine, although it's always grouped under Google because Google owns YouTube. So Amazon is very quickly becoming #2 or #3. And for almost every product now, they would dominate product searches. And there's a new kid on the block. TikTok, we predict in the industry, is going to be a significant player in 2022. And if you're watching this in like 2024, you probably have a huge TikTok ad campaign. But TikTok will be more like Facebook or Instagram in that it'll be like brand advertising. It won't be as precise because people didn't search like, who's the best personal injury lawyer near me? Now, they might search funny personal injury lawyer commercials, but that wouldn't be as direct, right? Or funny personal injury lawyer TikToks, because there are some funny lawyers now on TikTok. So how do you set up your campaign? You want to get rolling, or you just want to make sure that your agency put all the right pieces in place? We did provide a checklist when you registered for the webinar. So if you didn't get that, just give us a note. But here's all the things you want to be doing: your geo tracking, your day parting, all the tracking. And we'll get into this now in a little bit more detail, but you just want to make sure you checked off everything on our checklist. So the first thing we do when we're setting up a campaign is we look at competitors. We can see how much your competitors are spending. It's accurate, to within about 25 or 30%. But one thing we know for sure from this tool is that this law firm increased their spend over the last couple of months. And we can also see what keywords they're bidding on that their competitors are bidding on. There's a lot of different information we can get. We can see their ads. We can see their ad copy. We can click this little icon and see their landing pages. So we get a ton of information by researching the competitors. Hi, Gordon, I saw your note. This tool is called SpyFu, SPYFU. There's a number of tools that provide this information. When you go to set up your actual Google campaign, when we do this research, we use SpyFu and SEMrush and Ahrefs. There's a number of tools we use. We build a little bit of a mini database on all the keywords that our competitors are using, what their ads look like, and then we're ready to set up in Google. We go to ads.google.com. The most important thing, I answered this question yesterday: how do I make sure that I'm not going to blow all my budget and not get any revenue in return? Well, the good news is Google will only spend, and Facebook as well, they'll only spend within 5% of your daily budget, and they can be plus or minus. And normally by the end of the month, they're like almost right on your daily budget. So let's say you just want to test things out, and I say, okay, here's the geography where I want to show my ads. So only someone searching in that area would see the ads. And I'm going to start out with $1,000 budget, $30 a day, 30 days, and it's $1,000. So Google's going to be plus or minus 5%. So you could spend $950, or you could spend $1,050. And you can, as I said, geo-target and day part. So I could say, like, I only want to be Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, because that's the only time we're there. I could say I only want to be on the weekends because I'm a retail store or something like that. And geo-target means you can target as precisely as down to half a kilometer. So here's one of the factors. Now, if you are in one of these tough, highly competed for industries, like personal injury, like mass tort, if there's an incident in a region and you're advertising to try and take advantage of some, breaking news. One of our clients is a securities litigator, and when the next Madoff case comes along, hopefully it's not too soon, but we know it will, and you want to advertise that topic, the ads are going to be super expensive. And in particular, like personal injury ads for click to call. So see this little ad extension, these folks are running with the mobile ad extension, and you will click and call them from your mobile phone. You won't even go to a website. You're not clicking to a website, you're clicking to call them immediately. Those could typically be $200 to $300 depending on the region. So remember I said the $30 a day times 30 days is $1,000. You're not even in the game, okay? Google will never show your ad on the top of the page. They'll never show your click to call extension if people are paying $200 or $300 for those clicks. You won't get those most valuable clicks because you're only bidding $30 a day. So if you're in a competitive market, if you want to be in the game, your monthly budget is going to have to be, at least $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. And the way you could stay in the game is you could compress your hours and your days. So let's say you wanted those $200, $300 clicks. You still have to tell Google I have $1,000 a day available, because you got to tell Google I want 2 or 3 of these very best clicks, and then some of the other stuff too. And so you have to have $1,000 a day budget if you want to get a couple $200, $300 clicks. And so you could say, okay, I'm only going to go Monday to Thursday. Typically Fridays aren't as good a day. Mondays are the best days for most business calls. And so you could say, I want to go 4 days. So let's say that's 4 times 4, 16 days, and set the budget at $1,000 a day. So that's a $16,000 budget, Monday to Thursday, and you could do 9 to 5, so that when you're on with Google, you're getting the most competitive ads. I think sorry, I'm just seeing some Q&As. So the next thing with setting up your ad campaign, I call it keeping it clean. So you want clean ad groups. So the way I like to explain that is, you don't want to run like, let's say you do personal injury, you do car accident, you do slip and fall, you do nursing home, and you do medical malpractice, and you do mass tort. Well, you don't want to throw all of those keywords into one big jumble. You want to be as precise and relevant with what the consumer sees. So what we would do is we would set up all the car accident phrases: accident lawyer, automobile accident attorneys, car accident attorney. And then we'd write ads: serious attorneys fighting for you, free case review, motor vehicle accident attorneys. And then the landing page is all about auto accidents. So that as a consumer, obviously it doesn't make any sense if I search for nursing home attorney and there's an ad that says auto accident lawyers, serious attorneys fighting for you. It's like, no, my parent was injured in a nursing home. Like, so you want to be as precise as you can in setting up the campaign. And again, this is one of those red flags you want to review with your agency, because if the ads aren't precise, you're not going to get a high click rate. Google's going to show your ads less frequently, and your whole overall campaign is not going to perform very well. Because when they do show your auto accident ad to a nursing home search, it's obviously not going to work. And if I click this and it goes to the nursing home page instead of the auto accident page, again, fail, because the consumer is going to be like, well, these guys don't know anything about accidents. They only do nursing homes. The next thing, and now we're getting into more sophisticated stuff, but if your agency's talking about this, I'll try and simplify it. There's different match types in Google. So the first type is broad match. And if somebody, if you put in the keyword term injury attorney, you could get something completely irrelevant. Like somebody searches, how much does an injury lawyer make? What are the best injury attorney law schools, right? Like a student looking to go to school. They're not looking for an injury lawyer, because broad match can include, any broad relevant search that Google in their artificial intelligence sees as relevant to the term injury attorney. So you want to be more specific. You could do exact match, which is only the exact keywords, but generally most of our campaigns are going to have phrase match, which is find an injury attorney. And then it might come out to be like, best injury attorney. So it could include best injury attorney in Chicago. So it has to have the phrase best injury attorney, and then we'll take in Chicago, near me, in Illinois, in Chicagoland, like any slight variance that Google will serve. And then the other thing that's very important to have in a campaign, here's a good trick question for your PPC guy. how many negative keywords do we have in our campaign? Because let's say you're using the term best injury attorney, and like someone searches, like someone's in Chicago, but their parents were injured in an accident in Florida. So they're searching best injury attorney, Palm Beach. Well, you're a Chicago lawyer. They're in Chicago. Now they're actually looking for an attorney in Palm Beach, but you don't want to be shown for that ad. So you've got to negative out any keywords that Google would include. And this is very complex, so I'm getting into the details here. But trick question, just ask your agency, how many negative keywords do we have? And see if that makes sense, okay? And then the final thing, even, this is new from Google, even if you say I want exact match, I only want injury lawyer, they're also going to show injury attorney. So Google is using their discretion if they believe the word has the same meaning. Now, in terms of the anatomy of an ad, and now we're getting into like super sophisticated stuff, but very, very simply, this is the headline of the ad. Get answers to your questions, slip and fall lawyer, West Palm Beach, WPB. And then this is the description of the ad. And then these are some ad extensions, okay? So here we see what are called site link extensions. So you can put all of these things into your campaign. And again, a good question for your agency, what extensions are we using? What extensions are we not using? Because you see, this is the call extension, it's got the phone number. This is the local extension, it's got the address. So you should have, I think there's 14 or maybe now 18 Google ad extensions. Your agency should be testing all of them. Excuse me for one sec. Parker, break. Here. Sorry about that. If you all are on the recording or live, my dog wanted my attention. So otherwise he's going to jump and he's a little injured. So Parker got an appearance on the webinar, which I always love. Okay, so these are extensions. And then even more important, like absolutely, here's the most important thing you got to ask your PPC guy or your agency. Are we using the mobile ad extension? Because if you don't have this click to call, like this guy doesn't, this guy does, what are the chances that you're going to click on this guy's ad? And you're going to go to his website, and then there's going to be like, I don't know, an 80% fall off in terms of getting a call. If you click on this, you're going right to your call it. And we all know that calls convert. We saw the data earlier at between like 20 and 25%. And form fills convert at like 2%, 3%. Simple thing. Again, if you're nothing else that you do, make sure your agency has the call extension and make sure that the campaign is hyper-focused on mobile, because mobile is where people are searching, particularly for attorneys, injury attorneys. Corporate, little different, much more desktop, much more daytime searches, right? Okay. What is a landing page? I touched on that a little bit earlier. This is a home page for my friend Jerry Parker Wakeman, great people over there. This is a landing page. So, when you come to the home page, it's got all kinds of information. You could click on these links and you could go down a rabbit hole. You could go to their Facebook page. You could get distracted. You could read their blogs, right? But a landing page has one job and one job only, right? I want you to call. I want you to fill out the form. We've got the chat popping up. A landing page, you can't go to Facebook. You can't, most of them, we don't even let you go to the home page. You got one job only. You search for car accident lawyer near me, and we got you on our accident page. We want to talk to you. And then this, I used this example earlier. So the car accident page, different from the nursing home abuse page. And then very important, you need to have a thank you page. So if somebody does fill out the form, or in examples of the chat and the phone call, we've got to have the tracking. We've got to know that we got a conversion, and that's got to be set up properly in Google Ads and Google Analytics so that we know precisely how many leads we got, what the cost per lead, and then we're going to use some back-end software. We're either going to use like a CRM or a case manager if it can track the Google leads, or we're going to do that manually. We're going to find out how many became cases so we know our cost per converted case. It's not only about clicks, it's not only about calls, it's not only about leads, it's obviously about the cost per signed case. Super, super important. The website's got to be mobile responsive, and there's mobile responsive tools we've talked about in other webinars. And, as we said before, I've sort of harped on this point over and over, the critical component is conversions. Here's another campaign. We spent $26,000. We spent $6,000 on auto. We got 105 clicks for auto. The click-through rate was 5.62%. We got 29 conversions, calls, form fills, and chats. And the cost per conversion was $225 per lead. So this is a great campaign, actually. And the conversion rate was 27%. So I touched on this a couple times. Very, very important that we have call tracking. This is a software called CallRail. And then we actually get each call, we get a recording. So we, at 10 Golden Rules, we actually provide a lot of intake consulting. So we listen to those calls. The consumer is told that it's being recorded, and Google's recording the calls anyways now in the local service ads. So we listen to the calls, we give a bunch of feedback to the firms on the best strategies for converting those opportunities. And then chat. So you all know the chat box pops up. Talked about that earlier. 20 or 30% of people are not going to call. They're not going to fill out a form, right? Like I always use this case example. Let's say someone's aunt was in a car accident, or she slipped and fell at a supermarket. And the younger person in the family is the one who has internet access, and she's at work, and she's doing some research for the aunt because the insurance company's not paying the bills. The aunt can't work. It's a real problem, right? But she's not going to pick up the phone and call because she's not the injured party. She doesn't have the insurance information. She doesn't have the details. She's just finding a law firm, and then she's going to go back with her mom and her aunt, and she's going to create a short list of firms, right? And she's not going to fill out the form because the last thing she wants is a bunch of emails from a bunch of law firms. She wasn't the one injured. She's creating a short list that she's going to go back and go through with her mom and her aunt. So in this example, she might do a chat, right? She might start asking some questions. How much does it cost? Where are y'all located? Who's going to handle my case? The typical questions you get all the time. But she'll do that on a chat because it's a low involvement engagement. Super important that you get chat in your campaigns. Kind of talked about this a lot. And then here we talked about the 24% converted to clients from phone calls, 9% from chats, 5% from form fills. Super important that your campaign is set up for mobile, taking calls, click to call, LSA taking those calls, and we'll talk about that. So in terms of the research and the setup, we researched our competitors' keywords, we looked at their ads, we looked at their landing pages, we built a database of all the keywords that our competitors are using and some of the big spenders in our market, maybe other markets. We set up the campaign at ad.google.com. We set our budgets, the geography we want to target, the day parts, and the match type for the keywords. We went through that. The ads groups are all relevant. So we had, remember I had the example of all the auto accident attorney keywords, all the auto accident ads, and then all the auto accident landing page. And then I would have nursing home keywords, nursing home attorney, nursing home lawyer, nursing home ads were a very dedicated nursing home attorney, and then a nursing home landing page. And finally, we're tracking conversions. We're using call tracking. Analytics is set up to track all the forms and all the chats. And we've got that data at our fingertips. That's something you should know. What was it, not just your spend, but also how many calls, how many chats, how many form fills, what was the percentage lead on each, and how many of those, each of those converted to a client. Critical data, super important. I think we talked about tracking math and setting that up and setting up the goals. We talked about the marketing math, the case tracking. So sometimes we just do that in the back end. So we have we give our clients all the calls, all the forms, all the chats in a database, and then they can go through and tell us okay, these guys are pending. This is an open case. This one's not in our system. This one's rejected. And that's how we get that data. There's a bunch of software that can do this as well. This one's Smart Advocate. Litify is pretty good. So some of the case management software will track those leads all the way through. So next section, a few advanced strategies for consideration. And this is like one of those aha moments for me, like light bulb went off. And, we kind of all knew this to be the case, but here, Google's now giving us a pretty good set of data on multi-factor conversion. So in this campaign, we got 1,000 conversions. So this is probably several months of activity. And this is telling us that of all the multi-factor conversions, somebody came to the website more than one time, multi-factor, and then did a conversion. They either called, form, or chat. So the number one was they went organic and then they went direct. So what happened? Someone searched for car accident lawyer. And the example I used earlier, the young woman was searching for her aunt. She made a short list of 3 or 4 firms. Then at night, after she went home, she took her phone and she was showing her aunt and her mom, here's the top 3 firms that I identified. And she went direct. So she typed in www.lawyer.com, like she knew the name of the firm. She went direct to the firm and she converted. But she found the firm through the organic search. Here's another one, very common. Someone does a paid search, then they do an organic search. So the paid search might have been, car accident lawyer near me. The organic search was, I'll use one of Brian Garrett law firm. So he came up in the organic because she put his exact name, or maybe the maps, right? Here's a paid search to direct. Here's an organic search to 2 directs. So this person found the firm in organic. They went to the site with their aunt and their mom, or maybe they went to the site with their mom. Then they went to the hospital to see the aunt. They showed her the site. She said, okay, let's give them a call. And that's when it converted. Okay. So why am I spending so much time on this? Because it's not a single act anymore, right? People do a lot of research. They're going to visit your site a couple different ways. They're going to visit your site early in the cycle, what I call the cycle of search. So they just get injured. You just were in a car accident. And, you just like, do I need a lawyer? The first search might be, do I need a lawyer for a car accident? How much do lawyers cost for a car accident? And then, later on, once you talk to the insurance company and they're like, yeah, you don't qualify for some reason, and they're making up some reason. And, you start finding out that you went to the doctor and then now he's recommending you go to a spine specialist and you get MRIs and you realize this is going to be tens of thousands of dollars. So now it's like, okay, now I definitely need a lawyer. So then your searches change from just doing a little bit of research to very specific searches, best car accident lawyer to fight the insurance company, or best car accident lawyer to get my car paid for. So literally the searches over time change, and that's where these multi-factor conversions. So we have to think about the cycle of search. The early searches might not convert as well, but they get you in the game for those more direct searches or the actual direct when they type in your website. We talked a little bit about Google's automation earlier, so I won't belabor the point, but something we're starting to experiment with are these smart campaigns, the smart bidding, and using Google's AI. We've got the Intaker AI chatbot on our site. Here it is on an attorney's website. Hi, welcome to the Habas Law Firm. What kind of case can I assist you with? Is it car accident, pedestrian, motorcycle, bicycle, other, right? Very sophisticated. We all know, I think we all know about Google and Facebook years ago are removing data. So a lot of the intelligence they used to have was a little creepy. They were seeing everything we were doing and they're removing a lot of data. So that's removing a little bit of their intelligence. I used the example of remarketing earlier. So I go to Scott Silver's site here. I don't do a chat. I don't call him. And later in the day, I'm looking up something to do with Yahoo Finances. and a Scott Silver ad comes up. And this is super powerful because a lot of times people get distracted, or in the case of our young woman, she's doing research for her aunt. But if over a couple days I keep coming up, Silver Law Firm, Silver Law Firm, Silver Law Firm, there's a decent chance that I'm going to be at the top of her list now because I built my brand. And it's very inexpensive to do remarketing advertising because you're not advertising to everybody. You're literally only advertising to her device. You don't know it's her, but you're advertising either to her phone or her laptop. And one other thing we like to test there is the Bing or Yahoo ads. A lot of people leave this out of their campaigns, but once you get your campaign set up, do all your testing, test some landing pages, you're tracking calls, forms, and chats, you've got the basics in place. You probably want to set up Bing, and we say Bing and Yahoo because they're on the same ad platform, and you want to run both, excuse me. And last but not least, we talked about this right off the top. You know, this is a game changer. You got to get screened. If you're an attorney, if you're in financial services, if you're a real estate agent, you know, you're just missing out on this incredible window of opportunity. In some of the smaller markets we go to, and in some of the niche categories like litigators and family law, you know, personal injury, mostly there's, you know, dozens of competitors now. But in this, if you're in a smaller practice area, you get screened, and let's say only 2 other people are screened. Well, you need 3 people to show up in the ads. So you now there's only 3 people in your area who are approved, and 3 people, all 3 of you show up every single time. Now, that's the easy part, right? Getting screened in a non-competitive practice area. But in a competitive practice area, now we did a whole webinar on this, but I'm going to do this a little bit just to give you the headline, because everybody wants to know now. Like most of the personal injury guys and the single incident guys and the litigators, most of those people have gotten screened. They've gotten approved. Now everybody's trying to figure out, how do I get in the top 3? We used to be in the top 3 and we fell out of the top 3. So we uncovered what we call our secret algorithm. There's about 6 different factors. Go watch the entire webinar for the details, but the headline, got to answer the phone. Google's tracking, they're listening to your calls, they're tracking your calls, recording your calls. The artificial intelligence is listening to them. If you don't answer the call within 15 seconds, we found out you're being seriously demoted in the algorithm, and your likelihood of showing up here is you won't be showing up here for long. The other factor of that is do not miss any calls. So it's, if you don't answer in 15 seconds, you're probably not going to be in the top 2 or top 3 very long. If you miss calls, you're going to fall out altogether. And Google's not being evil. They're just saying, like, I'm not, you know, their job is to answer people's search queries. If somebody searches personal injury lawyer near me and clicks on the Berman Law Group, you better answer the phone, because Google's trying to help the consumer out and make Google a valuable tool. If you don't answer the phone, you know, Google's going to stop showing you for a couple reasons, right? Number 1 is it's a bad consumer experience. Number 2 is you're not answering the phone. You're paying for that click. It could be $200 or $300, and you're not going to get any customers, and you're going to be moaning and groaning about Google. And the third part, you know, obviously, your campaign's not going to work, and you're going to stop spending money. So if you're not answering the phone and you're not converting clients, you're spending money with Google, but you're not getting more clients. Eventually, you're going to stop advertising. So Google might as well give the clicks to someone who is answering the phone and who is doing a great job and who does have a phenomenally professional intake department. So that's why Google's monitoring, you know, how quickly to answer the phone. Do you answer the phone? And then the second part is you've got to get in the back end of local service ads, the LSAs or the Google Screen program, and you've got to tell Google this was a good lead, this was a bad lead. I'm actually disputing this lead because I'm a nursing home attorney and somebody called me for family law. So you can dispute the leads and not pay for those leads. Other factors, proximity, your bid, how you set up your campaign. Are you adding other elements to your LSA campaign and optimizing the campaign? I think I'm missing an important one. You're going to have to go to the other webinar to see that, or ask Maria in the chat. So let me just wrap up and then we'll take some questions. first things first, you want to set up your campaign nice and clean. As I talked about, you want to have the same type of keywords in your single ad group, the same type of ads, and then the same type of landing page. If you are using, if they're clicking to a landing page, obviously we talked about the importance of setting up mobile. You want them to click to call. We're going to track conversions, and we're going to track clients, and we're going to know our math. Like I've said it once, I've said it a dozen times today. Know your cost per lead, know your cost per signed client. Test some advanced techniques, and we talked about the lead to trends opportunity. Some of the advanced things are things like the local service ads. Maybe you want to get into some Amazon testing or some TikTok testing, or set up your Bing campaign. We talked about automation, multi-factor conversions, remarketing, and probably playing around with some of the artificial intelligence in Google, the automated bidding and the automated campaigns. So with that, I think we're done, and I will be happy to take a few questions. So you can either use the Q&A or the chat in the Zoom. Pause this here. See if we have any questions. All right, we've got a few coming in here. Thanks, Brett. Transparency is essential when dealing with the big budget. How does your agency report the PPC numbers, and what are the main metrics we share with our clients? That's a great question. So, I mean, I guess there's really two broadly different approaches out there. There's one approach out there that is a company that sounds like a crab, and I'm not going to mention any names, but they don't give you a lot of data. You don't own your website, you don't own your Google Ads account, and you don't own your analytics account. And if you leave that agency, that web development company, you don't have any of your data to take with you. And that data is incredibly powerful. Like what keywords worked, what keywords didn't work, what ads worked, what ads didn't work, what landing pages worked, how many chats did I get, how many calls did I get, what percentage of my campaign was mobile. Like we want to have that data when we're setting up a campaign. So our approach has always been 100% white hat, 100% transparency. So our clients own their ad campaign. If we part company, they have a Gmail account that it's set up under. They own it. They change the password. We can't get into it, and it's theirs, right? So we give 100% transparency, but most clients are not going to log into their campaign on their own. Matter of fact, we encourage them not to, because we give them really good reporting. We set up a report format, a template. We put it on a dashboard so they can log in anytime. They can change the dates, and they can see how much they spent, how many calls they got, how many chats, how many forms. And we give full transparency. And that's, I think I've covered the data you want, right? What was my spend in a certain time period? How many times was my ad shown? How many clicks did I get? How did the different campaign parts work? So I used the example earlier of auto accident, trucking accident, motorcycle accident, slip and fall, nursing home, mass tort. By tort, I want to break that down. Which ones are getting the impressions? So which ones are people searching for? Which ones are getting clicks? Which ones are getting the conversions? Good question. How much time is needed to tell if a campaign, this is from Daryl, how much time is needed to tell if a campaign is doing good or was programmed poorly? A pay-per-click campaign starts giving us some data within a couple weeks. So, to a certain extent, it depends on the spend. Like in the first campaign I showed you, we just set up a $30 a day test and a $1,000 a month budget. Let's say we talked about $87 conversions. So if you spend $1,000, you're only going to get like 12 or 13 conversions in a month. That's not a lot of data. But one of our new clients who started today, we just had a kickoff meeting, their pay-per-click budget is set at $20,000. So $20,000 is enough to get those, $200-300 clicks, those mobile click to calls. And we're going to get 3 or 4 of those every day. Within a week, we're going to have, 15, 20, 30 conversions. Within a month, we're going to have, 100, 120, 150 conversions. So we're going to know, which parts of the campaign worked, which ones of those, calls converted, how many clients did we sign for that spend. So that data is pretty good. It comes in. Question from Jennifer. Thank you very much. When the PPC account is moved from one agency to another, do we lose all our ad history? Again, that's kind of the same answer as before. So it's like, it is in that one agency, and there's a couple agencies like this that I'm not a big fan of, as you can tell. They don't give you your account, and part of they're trying to create stickiness, so you can't leave. So you don't own your website. You don't. And by the way, good tip: make sure you own your website. Make sure you own your account. Make sure you have a login to your account. You should be the administrator and the owner of your Google Ads account, so that you do own it when you switch agencies, and you just change your password and then your agency, or you remove access from your agents. You should be the administrator of your Google account, your Facebook account, your analytics account, anything you set up, even your call rail, your ad tracking and everything, or have your agency set it up on a Gmail. Like what we do is we create law firm name tgr@gmail.com, TGR being 10 golden rules. And then they own the password to that Gmail. Whenever they want to kick us out, hopefully not for many, many years, then they own all their accounts. All right. Oh, that's a good point. Thanks, Maria. Maria sent out the Calendly, and if we can answer any more questions, because we're going to wrap up here, we're just over an hour. Please, the link is in the chat for my Calendly. I should put it on the screen too, for those of you following along late, on the recording. This is great, by the way. If you don't have Calendly, oh, Maria put it here. I'm going to put it on the screen here. Calendly allows you to see my calendar and book an appointment, and then sorry, I gotta think while I do this. I can't talk. And then you can actually book an appointment on my calendar, and it sets up a Zoom for us, and it sets up a calendar appointment for both of us. Super effective, super easy. Why is this not working? Okay, so we do it this way. This. It's better be good after all this. So you should be able to see my screen now. So if you just go to Calendly, it's like calendar, but ly, calendly.com/j-10 golden rules /networking-session. You can set up some time. I'd love to meet you and answer any other questions. Let me take one more from Christopher. Is there a possibility for you to analyze my PPC campaign and account in-depth audit? So yeah, Christopher, please click the link in the chat, go to my Calendly, pick some time on my calendar. I'll be happy to meet with you, go through your account, and well, let's see. Maybe your agency is doing a good job, or, if they don't have the tracking set up, we won't even know if they're doing a good job, except for like a macro, like if they spent $10,000 and you signed 5 accounts, we know it's, $2,000 per account sign up. But we don't know if the PPC campaign is doing a great job, because we don't know where if it's calls, if it's forms, if it's chats, and what's working, which parts of the campaign are working. And really, you can't improve a campaign if you don't know which parts are working, because typically we turn off the stuff that's not working. We turn up the stuff that is. Anyways, thank you all for being here. Those of you who are watching this sometime in the future on the recording, do me a favor, click the subscribe button in the YouTube, click the like button, go to 10goldenrules.com and send me a note through chat or send me an email, j@10goldenrules.com. I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to meet someone in the future. Everyone, thank you again for being here. And I look forward to meeting as many of you as possible.